Hey everyone, how's it going? Sean Lee here, 1 minute a day. It is now near the end of day 7 of my water-only fast. I just took a nap earlier and went for a 15-minute walk around the courtyard, so still a little groggy, a little sleepy from the nap, but wanted to check in with a quick update. Want to let you know, update on how I'm sort of feeling, and also give you a little bit of information that I recently came across that I think might be interesting or useful to anyone interested in fasting. First, how I'm feeling. Something that I've just started to really notice, and I'd read about this before, is I'm much more sensitive than usual in all ways. Sense of smell, sense of hearing, just much more open and receptive to the stimuli around. When I walk by the kitchen or walk through the courtyard, I can really smell the foods very clearly, almost identify the different flavors, and just my senses are really heightened. I've already noticed that. And even certain things like listening to a piece of music, I feel like much more open and connected to it. I know it's kind of subjective, it's hard to describe. And the other thing is when I'm reading YouTube comments, the response has been overwhelmingly positive, and I'm so grateful for that. But there's always going to be a handful of negative or critical comments, which in the past I'd easily just brush off and move on. But for some reason, with this openness and sensitivity that's come with the fast, these comments are getting inside me a little bit, and I'm reacting to them when normally I wouldn't. I'm trying to understand, what is this person feeling? What do they mean by this comment? What could I have said differently? That kind of thing, which normally I wouldn't dwell over it. So I'd say that's a symptom of the fast, just overall much more open to things from outside coming in and more sensitive of what those things are. And I guess it probably goes both ways. As I'm releasing emotions and releasing toxins, I'm more open in that way, as far as it being a two-way street. Things coming in, things going out. I guess that's why it's really helpful to be in a controlled, peaceful, supportive environment while you are fasting. Not in a busy, chaotic, stressful environment, because I can only imagine if that were the case, the fasting experience could be a very different story, because I believe you are much more open to your surroundings when you're 7 days into a water fast. So that's an update on how I've been feeling and the things I've noticed that have changed. Also more sensitive to my body. I can feel things maybe that are tighter or more sensitive. All the senses have been heightened, I believe. The information I want to share with you, which I found really interesting, is that when you come to the vegan movement, I feel like there are a handful of sort of superhero doctors that we all look up to. They're known for treating illness and disease with diet and lifestyle instead of pills and procedures. And those are the doctors that promote a high-carb, low-fat, whole-food vegan diet. These are doctors like Colin Campbell, Dr. McDougall, Caldwell Esselstyn, even Joel Fuhrman. The list really goes on. And I've been exposed to even a few more of these doctors, and they all promote a whole food, plant-based diet where you have about 15% or less of your calories coming from fat. Some of them are even 10% or less. A very low-fat diet compared to the way most standard Americans eat. But what was interesting is that a lot of those doctors also overlap with the fasting community. A lot of those doctors promoting the healthy, low-fat, whole-food vegan diet are also totally supportive of fasting. To name a few, Dr. Goldhammer and Dr. Lyle, who are the main doctors here at True North and co-authors of the book The Pleasure Trap. They promote a very low-fat vegan diet, and they supervise water fasts here. Dr. Goldhammer founded True North 30 years ago. Another doctor here is Dr. Clapper, totally on board. But there's more connections than that. If you look at the book The Pleasure Trap, the introduction of that book was written by Dr. McDougall. Dr. McDougall supports the teachings of The Pleasure Trap. And Dr. McDougall has also openly endorsed Dr. Goldhammer. He says when his patients don't get well on the starch solution, which is very rare because it works almost for everyone, he'll send them to fast here with Dr. Goldhammer. So McDougall, Goldhammer, Lyle, Clapper, all on the same page. But then there's also Dr. Fuhrman, the Eat to Live author. He also promotes a low-fat vegan diet, a maximum of, I believe, 17% of calories from fat, but much lower and focused on whole foods, nutrient-dense foods. He wrote the book, Fasting and Eating for Health. He did a 46-day water fast to heal a serious injury of his, went on to place third in a national figure skating championship. I know that might be a surprise, I didn't picture him as a figure skater either. And he wrote the book on fasting for health. I did not know that about him. I just thought he was a low-fat vegan kind of doctor. But he's also into fasting, and who wrote the introduction to that book was Dr. Neal Barnard. Dr. Neal Barnard is the doctor who reverses diabetes. The incurable disease, Dr. Barnard reverses diabetes with diet and lifestyle. So Neal Barnard endorses Dr. Fuhrman's book on fasting for health. So I thought that was very interesting. And finally, the other day, Dr. Goldhammer was giving a talk and he revealed that Dr. Colin Campbell, the king of vegan doctors, the author of the China Study and Whole, and probably the guy who started this movement more than anyone, he fasted right here at True North several times, I believe, had tremendous results, and went on to co-author the scientific literature that proves the benefits of water fasting for improving hypertension or high blood pressure. So we have Colin Campbell, Dr. Neal Barnard, Dr. Fuhrman, Dr. McDougall, Dr. Goldhammer, Dr. Lyle, and Dr. Clapper, who are all promoting a low-fat, whole food vegan diet that also support the healing power of water-only fasting. I don't know if that's a coincidence or how that works out, but it's incredible that a lot of my mentors here are actually all on the exact same page for their diet and lifestyle and healing recommendations. So if you're on the fence about water fasting and you think it's kind of kooky or crazy, but you also follow the teachings of all of these other doctors, maybe that might open you up to revisiting the idea of whether this is beneficial or not. It certainly opened my mind a little bit more. I hope that was interesting to you. At least it gives you some things to look into if you're curious about fasting. I'm not here to be promoting fasting or to be an advocate for it. I'm still in the early stages of my fast. This thing is not over. Even once I start eating food, the fast is really not over. You don't know the end result of a fast until months, maybe even years after you start refeeding. So I can't give any conclusions about the advocacy of fasting, but these doctors that I mentioned, these doctors that I've already looked up to with years and years of experience fasting thousands of people, I trust their opinion. I do trust their opinion. That's all for today. End of day 7, 7 days of water only. Totally new experience for me, something that most people will probably never experience. As radical as it sounds to most people to eat a whole food, low-fat vegan diet, it's probably slightly even more radical for them to imagine doing a water-only fast. I'm not doing this to be radical. I'm doing this because it's what I'm called to do. All right, I've rambled on really long, but I had a lot on my mind today. Hopefully that helps. Thanks for all the support. Thanks for coming along for the journey. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace. Yes, I have lost a lot of weight, about 12 pounds in just 6 days. And they say the average person here loses about a pound a day on their fast. So I'm a little ahead